We're in our third season of Southern Entrepreneur, and we'd like to thank our sponsors, Jason Hunter Design, BMW of South Atlanta, Cooper Lighting, and Cylon.
If you enjoy one of these videos, send it to someone that can find it useful.
You know, we were raised by our grandparents that were entrepreneurs, and so from preteen they were instilled in us that to get ahead you needed to work for yourself. In the 60s they owned a scrapyard in Birmingham, then they turned it into a drum reconditioning plant for Chevron Oil, BP, you know, the big oil companies, and that's what they did until they retired. So they told us the benefits, the pros, the cons. You know, it's not always rainbows, and you're not always walking out with buckets of cash. You know, there's downtimes as well. But the good thing is you have your freedom to do what you want. You kind of control your own destiny, and it's up to you.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, it's up to you to make it work. I'd say we started off senior year of high school, which was 2007, doing side masonry work, bricklaying, block laying, just evolved.
Stone, yeah.
All sorts. It was something our grandfather pushed us to do. I remember he even pushed us to get business cards made.
Mm-hmm.
So at 17 years old, I had DeSoto Printing in Fort Payne make business cards for us.
Yeah.
And I still have them, and it's something I've kept on intentionally. Looking back at it, it was a blessing. At the time, I didn't think so at 17 years old, but we had two four-wheelers. Of course, they're fun to play with. Michael got hurt on one of them pretty bad, and our grandfather said, the four-wheelers are going. Well, at 17 years old, that wasn't something we wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And he said, trade it for a cement mixer, a mortar mixer. That's the mortar mixer we used on our side jobs. We still have that mortar mixer to this day, and that's made us more money. I mean, I could buy 10 four-wheelers for what that old wore-out mixer. Well, the mortar's what you lay the brick with. So it's the lines between the brick. It comes in a bag, a 70-pound bag, and then you add sand to it and water, and you lay the brick with it. Well, you're not going to get any work done if you don't have the mortar. To mix the mortar, you've got to have that mixer to be efficient with it. Those things brand new are a few $1,000s. We traded two wore-out four-wheelers for one.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's made us more money than the four-wheelers ever.
And how you cranked the thing was you had to get a piece of string with a knot tied on the end of it, and you wrapped it around the whatever you call that
flywheel.
The flywheel. You just yank it as hard as you can, and then it'll go.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes it won't start. So
that four-wheeler's older, or that mixer's older than all of us.
And then at the end of the day, you would have to beat it out, all the dry mixer and stuff. Or all the dry mix out of the mixer, and there's huge dents all up and down that thing from where you're just welling on it with a sledgehammer, cleaning it out. It was our biggest
The best one, and it was probably the most profitable, not financially but networking, is the Rainsville Tornado Memorial. I think we had 200 hours apiece of volunteer time between me, Michael, and my younger brother.
Yeah.
But it's a project I'll never forget because the people I've met, the reputation we established or further established in the city of Rainsville and Fife and surrounding areas.
Right.
You know, it's a staple around here and everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
Financially, I mean, there were several. After the tornado hit, we did projects in Henniger, made good money on it. You know, at that time it was good money to us. I'd say $10,000. And that's just one project. I mean, we probably done, I don't know, 50 projects with that mixer.
We would usually have the clients pay for the materials.
Yeah, it
so
was
then
all
the
labor.
materials should just be on site, and then when we get there, we would do it as all labor.
I would guess the overall project was probably 20 grand, but 10 of that was paid up front by the homeowner. Yeah, and 10 grand was paid to the three of us. It took us a weekend.
Yeah, it was good money. Yeah, it was hard work.
And at 19 years old, you thought you were rich.
Right.
And that's good money for a young kid starting out. And I try to tell kids nowadays, you can make that kind of money if you have a skill that people need.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of people that want to work right now in the trade, so if you want to get into trades, now's the best time for sure. You'll make good
Oh,
money.
yeah, you can almost call your price. When I graduated high school, I went to work for a masonry company in Atlanta. Or, I'm sorry, Chattanooga, Adams Masonry. Started out as an apprentice, working in the field. I would say about a year and a half into that, I wanted to start learning the office side of that, the business side of it. And I did whatever it took to get that. And I would call the owner and say, I want to learn how to estimate. I would come in on rainy days when we can't work outside and estimate, and half the time wasn't expecting to get paid for that. And I would call him on a Friday when we would come back to the farm for the weekend, and I would work on stuff in the dining room on the weekends. And I remember at the time he was like, "Why are you doing this?" Or you know, "I feel bad I'm not paying you." And I said, "No, I enjoy it, and I'm doing it for my long-term benefit." And so I guess that commitment moved me into the office full time. So I've kind of stayed in that role of estimating, project managing since then. And then in 2012, I moved to Atlanta to go to work for my cousin, who's a general contractor in Atlanta. Works in the malls and all over Atlanta. Worked there for 10 years, learning the ins and outs of that side of the business, because there's so many sectors of construction. It's like apples and oranges. And I took a leap of faith, and I remember at that time taking that leap of faith being scared to death. Like, I'm leaving masonry that I know to go into general contracting that I just know enough to be dangerous with. And I remember I didn't know what to do. I just had to take the leap of faith. And it was really one of the best moves I ever made. So I was there for 10 years. I never really saw myself leaving construction. It's what I know. It's been in me since I was a teenager. But I always knew I wanted to be my own boss. If I'm going to work that hard, I'm going to do it. I want to do it for me and make myself successful and my employees and not somebody else. 10 years into the scene of Atlanta, I always came back to the farm in Fife on the weekends. I always felt this was home. This was a sense of peace for me. And I eventually, after several years of doing that every weekend, I had to make a decision. I've got to do something long term. I can't do this and have a family that's back and forth. So about July of 21, I was really at a point where I didn't know what to do, and it's frustrating. It keeps you up at night. It really puts you in a bad place mentally.
I've been there.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, I didn't work this hard for this many years to get in this situation. So I call it whatever you want, a blessing from God. I met Jimmy Traylor with Jimmy Traylor Construction at that tornado memorial that we did as a charity when the tornadoes hit in 2008, 9. I haven't seen him since, but I always knew of the company, knew it was in Rainsville. And I graduated with a family member of his, and I messaged her on Facebook and said, "Hey, can I have Jimmy's number? I'd like to talk to him." She said, "Yeah, sure." And I called him, I think around July, and said, "Hey, you may not remember me. I worked with you on that memorial. I'd like to talk with you." And he said, "Okay." And this was all on the phone. And I said, "I need advice from an old man to a young man. I'm thinking about moving back to the farm full time. My only fear is I don't know what construction's like here. Can I make a success of it? I need to do something." And he said, "Yeah, I've been doing it for 40 years, I believe, and I've done well here." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, I appreciate the feedback." And he said, "Well, I'm actually considering retiring. I would consider selling out to you." I haven't seen him since 2008 or 9, and haven't spoke to him since then either. And my response, and that's always been my open outlook to any kind of business dealings, is anything's worth the conversation. You can decide after that if it's a bad idea and move on, but don't just immediately shut something down. You never know what'll happen. So I said, "Okay, let's talk further." So I think we met 2 weeks later. I came to his office and sat down and talked. And from July till about Thanksgiving, we met several times. When I would come back, we'd meet in the afternoons. We reviewed paperwork and so on, just reviewed business, upcoming business. And I was blown away at how well he did, how much business was here, how much money was being spent here. I had this closed-minded outlook that it's in the country, you can't make any money. And I couldn't be more wrong. So I believe around Thanksgiving, I told him, I said, I'm going to make the deal. And so I put in a notice in Atlanta, and I moved here into January and went to work and started running the business. So the deal was structured where I just needed to provide 10% down for the company. He would owner finance the rest for 10 years, and I had the 10% saved. Owner finance is basically where if I own the company and I'm selling it to you, I hold the note on the company and you pay me per the terms. So, for example, if it's 10 years, you pay me every month for 10 years until it's paid off, or you work out a deal where you can pay it off early if you're making more money than you expected. The legality of owner financing is there's a contract between me as the owner and you as the buyer, and it says as long as you pay me this every month, then it's yours. I can't say halfway midstream I've changed my mind. You can't legally do that. We would have a lawyer draw up the contract. I would recommend, me as the owner, I'll have my lawyer draw it up, but you as the buyer, you need to look out for your best interest too and have a lawyer solely invested in you review it. And there's going to be some back and forth of redlining, I guess you'd say. No, let's do this, let's do that. Is there a early payoff penalty or something like that? I hope 3 to 5 years the company will be doubling revenue. Well, the business is there. As long as you keep the reputation, the business will always come. You can go out and seek it, but if you've got the reputation, you don't have to work as hard selling yourself. Your reputation sells it for you. So the big thing is going to be managing it well, watching your dollars, and then having employees. I'd say good employee base is the bread and butter of the whole company. If you don't have good employees, you don't have a company.
We couldn't do our videos without our sponsors, so here's a couple of lifestyle videos and then we'll be back to the program.
I wish I would have reinvested money into more equipment instead of, wow, I'm getting all this money, let me go buy another four-wheeler. I was pretty good about not doing that, but I know that's a very tempting thing to do. I've seen that temptation personally. I need to buy a new truck. Well, you need to buy new equipment, because if you don't have good equipment, you're constantly having to pay for repairs, and it's downtime. And time's money. I don't care how much you look at it, time's money. And you're either spending that time making money or it's costing you money. And when you've got employees standing around, they don't get off the clock just because your equipment's not working. You got to pay them or they're going to leave. Keep the reputation. Do what you say you're going to do. If you say, I'm going to be there tomorrow at 9 o'clock, don't wait for the client to call you asking where you are. That'll happen about one good time, and then you've got a bad reputation. The third most important lesson I would say is everybody forgets the good projects. It's the bad project they remember. If you've got a bad project with someone, they'll remember that over, oh, well, he did a good job the time before, but that one time you came and made a mess of the job, you don't forget that. Your clients won't forget that. Yeah, I'd say the last thing is just keep pushing forward. There's going to be days that you want to give up. There's going to be a lot of days you want to give up. A lot of days you don't feel like getting up early, or you're just mentally drained and you're like, I'm done. You know, you just want to give up and go crawl in a hole. I mean, it's going to come. But there'll be a good day where you're like, wow, I feel like I'm on top of the world. But then there's days where you're going to feel like you're a total failure.
It was kind of the same thing with Nikki, where it was, we worked for Adams Masonry in Chattanooga, and he was doing the estimating side of things. I was out in the field actually laying the brick and supervising some of the smaller jobs or whatever. So we did a lot of that. I was given the opportunity to do the estimating, but I just couldn't. I don't know. I didn't enjoy that. I love being outside. I love building stuff with my hands and all that stuff. I stayed in the field. I did that. And then we had the opportunity to work with our cousin, who's a general contractor in Atlanta. And that was a big move. It was a big move just even going to Chattanooga, because we're from Fife, Alabama, where the population is very small. So Chattanooga was kind of scary, and then going to Atlanta was like, oh my gosh, this place is huge. And we didn't know what we were getting into or whatever. But Nikki decided he was still going to pursue like the estimating and project managing and stuff, and I was going to stay in the field. I was like, I kind of want to do real estate, because I was already watching a lot of like HGTV type stuff or whatever, and I was like, I want to do real estate. So I decided I was going to go into real estate. I got my license at night while I was still working during the day, and I finally made the move to go into real estate full time, probably maybe 6 months or so after getting my license.
And how long ago was that?
In 2015. Yeah, so it was tough, because I was leaving a job where I had a gas card, I had a company truck, I had, like insurance and all that stuff, and it was a comfortable job, and it was a salary basically. So I was leaving that to go into a job where I had to make my own money. I had to pay my own taxes. I had to pay for everything. So there was a few years, the first 2 or 3 years is tough. I mean, you're looking at your bank account just dwindle away. So you just have to keep on making your calls, keep on pressing and selling houses and whatever you can do to pay your bills. I was on a team, and they would hand me leads and stuff like that, and they would get a percentage, probably like 50% of the commission that I would make on the deal. So with them, just full disclosure, I was probably making around $100,000 a year or whatever, but I still had a lot of expenses. And right when COVID hit and everything, I decided to go out on my own. So last year was basically my first full year, and I made just a little bit more than $100,000. So I was like, okay, this is good. I'm doing it. And then this year, just my first quarter, I made over $100,000. So it just keeps on getting better and better, and referrals and clients and stuff like that. I've always been persistent. Like if I wanted something, I was going to work hard and get it, no matter, even if it took me forever to get it. Like it was just going to happen. I know it was. So just from the background of of working hard and you know, listening to my grandparents constantly talk about, if you're going to make it in this world, you need to learn to work hard and, you know, save your money and don't spend it on you know, stuff that you can have later on in life or whatever, and just constantly reinvesting in yourself and learning as much as you can. So I'm going to tell you, the number one thing for me is I finally figured out that time is more important than money. It really is. So when I say that, I'm saying, like, take chances, like just do, like, leaps of faith or whatever, whether it's going into business for yourself or applying for a new job or whatever. Just do it, you know. Just do it. Don't think twice about it. Just do it and see what happens. You never know what can happen. And when you're comfortable, that's when you're never learning anything. When you're uncomfortable is when you learn stuff. When you really think about it, like, what, we're here on Earth for, like, what, maybe 80 years or something? Like, that's nothing. Like, like, when I look back the past 5 years, it's just like that. And you don't want to look back and have regrets. You only have one body, so take care of yourself. You need to have a healthy mind. You need to have a healthy body, because, I mean, you only have one, and you need to be able to think straight. You need to be able to work and not feel exhausted and all that stuff. Not like you're not going to feel exhausted, but you need to have a clear mind and you know, just take care of your body.